Welcome back to another SuperCoach video with me, JD. You are joining me for the round 14 review. That's right, buys are all done and dusted. We get to go on to the last little part of the year. We get to play around with finished teams and kind of see what shakes out, who's upgraded to the best of the best, and obviously we've got league finals coming up as well for anyone that is playing that format. So we'll discuss a little bit of that as things go on, I'm sure. So for the round, I scored, where was it? 1980, which was like a top 2K rank for the round, not too bad. Moved up a good chunk of spots finally to be about 12K overall. But with the buys, of course, I think we talked about this a couple of times before. It's not so much important how you did over one round, it's how you did over the cumulative 3. So what I did was this. If you don't follow me on Twitter, this is, I guess, a good plug. My handle's @JacksonDavy, so just my name. And so what I did was look at where I started, what my rank was, so around 16K, and then what happened through each of the weeks. So first week wasn't a good one. I'm going to have to go back and review why that was such a bad one. I don't remember why. And then the next two were good. So overall I was up. That can't be right. That is definitely wrong. It's only 4.1 between that and that. So that must be 5.3 up. That must have been 4.1. Anyway, bad tweet. You can see I did much better in fantasy when I went up all 3 weeks, which is obviously the goal, but not always achievable. But if you go up across all 3 and you improve your team, then that's been a good buy round most of the time. So I think like the thing that held me back in my buys for sure was my rookies. I played a lot of the bad rookies compared to other people. So I didn't have Ware, I didn't have Saligo, I didn't have Hobbs, and they all put up really good scores. I'm sure there's another one or two I'm missing that I can't think of, but they all put up really good scores. And you look at mine, I was getting 50s. You know, I held McCartan and I didn't get an 80 out of him this round. The only person left with him probably didn't get an 80. But Steve, I couldn't get a score over 60 this round. I had so many playing: Judson Clark, Teakle, McCartan, Stevens, D'Ambrosio, Clark, and 59s were the best I could do. So even though I had 16 primos, I think, playing, and then 5 rookies, something like that. Because I couldn't get any good rookie scores going, it just really hurts your overall score. Probably a lesson for next year here that that you want to make sure you are bringing some quality rookies into the buys. That's a little bit hard to do. I think the priority is definitely still to have better premiums and more premiums playing. But maybe I over-sacrificed some of the rookies this year. I could have maybe held day cost longer than what I did. Anyway, there's other stuff that obviously went on, like Owens and Thompson and stuff being out, but yeah. All right. So just to show you one thing with it. So Optimize is actually really handy this week because it kind of takes all your primos back off the bench and puts them on field. The only exception is it doesn't spot that there's a forward ruck loophole. So it never swaps Teakle in English, which is what it should do, and then re-optimize. There we go. All right. So that's good. That'll be enough for now. The vice captaincy on Sinclair's an interesting option, but hey, go off, SuperCoach, go off. All right, so we'll quickly, I guess, whip through the team where it's at now that it's mainly finished. I actually still have one upgrade to go, which is probably in a worse situation than a lot. And then we'll quickly talk about the injuries that happened this week, which I think Butters is the big one. Yep, I think that's a big one. There's a lot of gruesome ones. Waitman had the dislocated elbow, Powell had the dislocated knee. That stuff looks terrible. But yeah, I'm working on the assumption that Butters is out for a bit. We're going to miss him for a bit. We'll talk about what we can do there. And then, I think that'll be it. We'll do some vice captain captaincy. I think on the podcast this week, FantasyTakeTV with over on George's channel, we're going to go through the top options in each line. So if you are in a situation where you have luxury upgrades to go, we'll go through who we think are the best options in each line to kind of get up to and who we would be trading out of as well. I've touched on that a little bit just with my team. So, who are the weaker players in defense or midfield, whatever, that I'd be trying to get out of if I could. But I think we're in a really interesting position where people were quite aggressive with the trades, and I still feel like having 6 at this point is probably on the slightly better end, average to above average end. I know there's a lot of people, especially towards the top, that have fewer trades than me, even after I make 2 this week. And that's going to be really interesting because you kind of probably can't do luxury trade. You probably have to hold for injuries at that point. And maybe hope for a little bit of carnage because it's going to benefit you and punish others quite badly that haven't got any trades left. So, interesting situation to be in. All right. So, in defense was really good this week. Doherty in that role is an absolute pig. So there's a couple of things. One, they love getting the ball in his hands, but secondly, they like playing him loose, and they like playing him loose up as an extra man at stoppage sometimes, where he just like hangs one man off and they'll distribute it through him. I wouldn't expect this score each week, but we've been talking about maybe he drops off. I don't know. I'm struggling to see him dropping off now. I mean, he's had 2 massive scores. At least I've got those banked. So. Big fan of Doherty from here. I think he's probably top 6 unless he like has a major fall or like can't run out the year. But yeah, this is looking very good. Cromson was amazing on the weekend. They put him back behind the ball, and I don't know if it's his best position. I think he's probably still better on the wing. But yeah, this game just really worked for him. Like they used him really heavily. He was very good with the ball for the most part. He had a couple of defensive plays that I don't know. He'd probably rather have back. But I really liked what he's playing. And then coming into North this week, like it's going to be another big score. I wasn't so keen on him being top 6. Maybe he can be. It's really interesting because there's a lot of players that could be top 6. But I think the most likely for me, by the way, if I'm just like off the top, it would be Sinclair, Dawson, Hewitt, Doherty, and then Sicily and Stewart, and then like Crisp and Short I'd drop off. But we'll see. I mean, these 2 were both picking for about a 105 in a play every game. I think they're going to do that and still not be the best picks. A little bit like Zach Merritt last year. They're not like failed picks, but just not great. Anyway, Crisp was on his bye, obviously. Hewitt and Sinclair were both good. I don't know. There's not really much to say apart from like they both went well. And then Short, so the big story here with Short is he played more forward time again. So I split with something like 30%, 35% forward, 65% mid. And he's a good midfielder, but he's just not racking up the ball and the touches and the stats enough to make him a good fantasy option, which is a little bit of a concern for us. So like obviously from my team, like this is the one I'd be trying to trade out of in defense. Now the interesting one is obviously like Stewart, who not only had the concussion game, but he came back and had another pretty poor game as well. So he must have a massive break even. He's got a 210 break even this week. He's going to lose 50k, get down to roughly 540. So it's actually not too much to upgrade from a Short to a Stewart. And for those that do have luxury trades, that is one I would be looking at for sure. Okay, and then D'Ambrosio was good on debut. Slightly picked him just because he was the bottom basement price player. And obviously heard good things about him. But yeah, he looked good out on field. Good little rebounding defender, good foot skills, good effort. Liked D'Ambrosio. So if you are looking for a downgrade option defense, I think he would be right up there. The other option would be Durden, but he hurt himself, so I think that's a easy choice. And then Thompson should be back this week, maybe. It's interesting. So I think he played VFL on the weekend. I actually haven't seen reports see if he got through it. I believe he did. And I thought he was best 22 from just when he played. So maybe I get him back as cover as well. We'll see. Midfield. So I put the vice captaincy on McRae and obviously took that score, which was really helpful this week for me. I think my captain choice would have been either Laird or Miller, so got a nice little points boost nailing the vice captain this week. Laird was good on debut for me. So really liked how he played. I think he had a negative fantasy to SuperCoach ratio, but overall I thought he was really good. He's going to be solid for the rest of the year. And they've got some really nice matches coming up, like North this week, and he's going to be a potential captaincy option with that. So, really good. Took was just okay. I think he's still probably a top 8 mid or thereabout. We're just not going to see the heights of last year. I'm not really sure why. Like, I can't put my finger on it. Just maybe we just saw his best year ever, and this is like a slight regression to what you expect to see out of Took. Can't tell you what's going on there. Maybe he's carrying something that's niggling, but You would have thought after a week off with the buys, he'd be good to go, but we didn't really see that. So yeah, can't tell you what's wrong there. He's going to be there or thereabouts, but there are other options I'd prefer over him in the midfield now, like, Laird, Mills, these types. McRae was good, and this is like somewhat expected with Bailey Smith out. I think McRae is going to be pretty much a vice captain or captain option every week. So they've got the Hawks this week, and I think he's probably going to be a really strong option there. The only other ones like you'd probably consider is like, because English plays at the same time. So if there's a good ruck matchup, maybe you play English. But I think McRae's just got that better ceiling. So yeah, I think that'll be the case. That he's pretty much a every week vice captain option until Baslenka returns. And then we've got the disappointing trio along the bottom in the midfield. But Cripps actually had like a decent game from a get the ball perspective, just didn't use it particularly well. I'm not too worried. I think he will bounce back from these types of games. But like he's a little bit like Took, where he's going to be like bottom of top 8 to like, top 10-ish kind of thing. He's not going to be one of the like Ubers that you really want, which I think is like Oliver, Neal, Laird, McRae, and Mills probably. And then there's going to be a bunch around the bottom that you like could have, and as long as you got the really big dogs, it's going to be okay. And Merritt is going to be another one that falls into that bucket. Like I didn't think his game was particularly bad; it just wasn't good. Essend's not going to get many wins, and so you'd want to see him like at least have some good scores in those wins. So to just see a 91 and a win is like a bit disappointing. Hopefully against West Coast this week, he can produce something good. I guess the sad part for Essendon is like West Coast finally has some of its players back and actually looked all right against Geelong for large parts of that game. So it's not going to be the easy win against a VFL side that many of the others got during the start of the year. And then, Clark was the sub, came on relatively early, scored a 44, which is like good and bad. I mean, he made a little bit more cash, but his break-even's now up higher. So I think there's a chance I need to do one more downgrade from my rookies on my bench just to like fund sideways trades. I'll go through that maybe I won't. I'll just go through it now quickly. So if I do 2 trades this week to finish my team, trade up Butters and trade up McCartan, then I'm going to have 4 trades left, but basically no money in the bank. And so I can try and say 4 injury trades just to do sideways, or I could downgrade like a Clark to a 102k rookie, make 150k, and then use that and get 3 better sideways trades. So it's kind of like the trade-off I've got at the end there. So I do want one of these to continue making a little bit more money, just so I've got some luxury money to do some sideways trades. Like for example, say like a Merritt or a Cripps goes down. Do you want to sideways them to another one around that price range, or do you want them to be able to put them up to like a Mills? That's like and so you need money if you're going to do that. Or if like Bailey Smith comes back and I want to get rid of whoever, well, not Butters anymore, but whoever I put in these places, I'm going to need money to do that. So I think I might need to do one more downgrade, but it probably depends on how the next couple of weeks go, because if we have more injury trades now and I'm already down to like 2 trades, I'm not going to be able to do that. But if we don't get any more injuries for next week or 2, maybe I can do that little luxury downgrade to have money for any more sideways action. So like it would have been good to have Clark for a full game just to make a bit more money and not have his break even kind of pop up so high. Also not sure if he gets a game again this week, but we'll see. And then Stevens was good. I mean, he's growing into this. I think the unfortunate part is like Dangerfield is returning soon, and I still think he's the one that's most likely to come out for him. So I don't expect this bench cover to be for forever. Owens got hit with a double whammy, so obviously he had the concussion, but now you've had Clark and Billings come back. Billings looks pretty good as well. So I don't know when Owens gets back into that side unless injuries happen. Oh, and you've also got Steele to return in like either this week or next week, I believe the timeline for that is. Oh, and that is someone that, like, as a luxury upgrade, you'd probably want to look at in your mids if he comes back firing too. So, actually, where's his price at? 590, and he's got a 200 break even. Oh, that's nice. Could get down to 550. Yeah, because for those luxury trades, like, you're looking at maybe after next week short to Stewart, and then like, I don't know, Merritt or your equivalent, or like Cripps or someone like that down the bottom end to Steele in like 3 weeks. That sounds good to me. Okay. Yeah. So yeah, I don't think Owens comes back. I think Stevens probably gets dropped soon, and Clark, he was dropped. He was just sub. So this bench is looking pretty sad. But and maybe that is part of the reason why I'll need to do like the luxury downgrade anyway for Clark, just so I've got bench clever. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. In the ruck department, so this was like very disappointing. Teakle, just the 30 before breaking his collarbone. I haven't seen the like timelines for that, but I believe by the time he's fit, Lysette will be back and available. So I can't see him probably getting another game. I mean, yeah, we'll see. We'll see. Like he was playing pretty well. I liked him out there, but they've obviously got Finlayson, Dixon, and then Lysette. So I can't imagine playing a fourth tall on top of that, which would mean he would require an injury to like a Finlayson or a Dixon to get a spot back once his collarbone's healed up. So this is probably a loophole for the rest of the year. Wits was disappointing-ish. So like visually, I don't think he played poorly by any means. I think he looked okay. He just didn't get a lot of the hitouts to advantage that his scoring is predicated on. So just ended up being quite a poor score overall. I didn't think he played that badly though. So like this will bounce back. But yeah, disappointing for a lot of people because you would have had to have traded Gorn to Wits probably this round if you didn't already have Wits. So it'd be very high ownership, but yeah, that's sad. Just not a very good score. Darcy, not much more to say. Like he was on his bye. Hopefully he comes back refreshed and good this week. And then the forward line went off for the most part this week. Like English, Dunkley, Parker, and Cogs were all really good. George was cursing Parker because he brought him in this week. Was it in fantasy or something? He might have already had him in SuperCoach. I can't remember because he had like a quiet first quarter, but he was really good for the Swans. Had a huge score. Dunks and English were both good. English was like a little bit disappointing with the 110 because she had Bruce go down early in that game. Yeah, and it didn't translate into like a really big score, which you would think, given GWS didn't really have a ruck. Like what they were like rolling at Toby Green at one point, it was pretty bad. They have the Tom Green experiment. They got Toby out there, and then Cogs continued to be really good. I think he kicked 2 goals or something like that again. So yeah, I think he's top 6 forward from here. His average is now up over the 100 mark, which is phenomenal given where he was at. Yeah, Butters was on to be like this should have been probably my biggest forward score of any of them. He was looking really good in this game. Was on for a 130 plus. But yeah, obviously injured with the knee. I'm going to assume that he's out for a period of time and has to be a trade. And then, which is like really unfortunate. If that could have just happened like 1 week later, would have like helped me massively. Having to do 2 trades this week in the forward line is not ideal for me at all. And yeah, and then McCartan, like he made a little bit more money, but his break even's now up around the 70 mark. So how much more did he make? Was it much? 3K. And then yeah, Clark was all right this week. I mean, he had the second week in a row where he didn't do anything in the fourth quarter, which is I don't know how much longer this cover lasts. And Hamilton was a emergency again, but didn't get named. So does he come back? Did GWS have any injuries that game? I don't think they did. Apart from Bruce, which he obviously isn't coming back in for. That'll be Flynn. Okay, so we've already talked a little bit about what we should be doing this week. If you haven't finished your team, finish your team. That's me. My planned trades this week was McCartan to Bontempelli, and that being it. So let's just lock that one in. This was going to be this week's trades, and that was done. All right, perfect. In an ideal world, I would have got Bont last week, but I just didn't have enough money. Missed out on the 120. Happens. You know, extra 60 points in my score would have been nice. But yeah, now we've got the Butters problem. Everyone's got the Butters problem. It's a problem. So what can we do here? So I think there's like 2 groups of people, those that have money and those that do not. And so for those that have money, the other 5 in my team, I think are great options. I would be starting with those. If you don't have any of these, that's who I'd be putting your Butters to. And then there's people like me that don't have money. I probably wouldn't go back to Brody. I would consider Libba, and I would consider Trelaw as well. I guess like Trelaw's got the injury history. Libba doesn't. Libba's score should be good over the next 3 weeks without Bailey Smith in the team. Then they might regress a little bit, but still be okay. You could look at Goldie, who's been like good as the number one ruck. I don't actually hate Goldie as a bit of a pod option. And then I know a few people jumped on Cameron or were looking at Cameron just because Cats have got a pretty nice run home, could crush it. I think the other one in the same boat would be Tom Hawkins, who could do something similar to that as well. If we just have a look at 3-round average, oh yeah, Himmelberg. So Himmelberg I brought in fantasy this week, and he went off again. I would love, if I had a little bit more money, but not enough to go up to the other guys, I would probably bring in Himmelberg this week. I wouldn't bring in Darcy Cameron. He's got a expiry date on him with Grundy coming back. Probably. I don't know. Maybe he holds him out. And then Jed Anderson's numbers are misleading. Tex Walker, I think that's a last year play, even though he's got North. Like, yeah, they've got a few nice games that he could go big in. You know, North twice, West Coast, whatever. Probably wouldn't go to Texas. So who does that really leave here? Oh, like Mitch Duncan. I mean, if Mitch Duncan was going to be a pick, he would have gone off, I think, this week against West Coast as well, but he didn't, just the 90. So I think it might be, I can't believe I'm saying this, it might be Isaac Heaney this week. He is at a very discounted price. Had a good game on the weekend. I guess the thing with this pick is he's getting no mid-time, and he's not a midfielder. But he is working up around the ground better. I don't know. Do I like this? Like, look at all these bad scores in the middle here. How many weeks did he go without 100? Like 5? What is their fixture like? Their fixture's not too bad from memory. So, yeah, so Saints, Essendon, both decent matchups. Dogs, Freo's tougher than Adelaide is easy. GWS should be all right. North, Collingwood, St Kilda's all good. So I don't know. I see like 2 kind of negatives and like, how many other games are there? 8? Like 6? Oh, maybe it's 7 matches. 7 kind of like neutral to positive matchups for Heaney, which kind of makes me interested in getting him. I think like the other option, by the way, I could explore is if I don't get in Bont, then I could get in 2 mid, like guys in the middle of the range. I could get in like a Libba plus a Himmelberg or something like that. But I think like getting the absolute premium in Bont is the plan. Let's just lock this in for now. I'll have to revisit this during the week, see what we talk about here. Because like the other option, of course, is I do a downgrade and I hold McCartan for 1 more week, and then get rid of McCartan for someone more expensive. But I don't know if like waiting an extra week and fielding McCartan an extra week to get, say, Libba or Trelaw or someone like that over Heaney is actually worth it. I don't know if there's that much of a point difference that like waiting extra week is good. I don't think it is. So it's probably that. 4 trades, 37k. This is like okay amount of injury trades left, I think. But yeah, this is what I was talking about with the money. So like 37k, you can't do much with that. So if I have a problem in the midfield or defense and I want to get Short to Stewart, or I want to get Merritt to Steele or something like that, it's going to be quite hard to do with this amount of money. So whether or not I do one more downgrade from like Clark or someone next week, if a good rookie pops up to give me better bench cover and then better upgrades, I might do that. Okay, so captain, vice captain. So like there's a few nice matchups this week. If Parrish was playing, having him into West Coast would be good. I don't think anyone can trust Merritt into West Coast, even though he could have a good score there. Melbourne and Brisbane, like 2 big dogs going at it against each other. So I'd probably shy away from Oliver, Neil, Petrarca, these types, even though one of them could go big in that game. Because they'll go head to head, they probably won't tag, but I still wouldn't try and pick which one it is that goes big. Bulldogs against Hawks, this seems like a really good matchup for the doggies. So yeah, McRae in this matchup, and maybe English as well. The two I'd look at, though, with like Reeves back, he'll beat English up in the ruck. So yeah, I don't know. I'd probably just McRae here. I like as a vice captain option. Carlton Freo. So that is another game of two top teams going against each other. Could Brayshaw go huge? Yes. Could Cripps go huge? Yes. Could Doherty go huge? Yes. Could Darcy go huge? Yes. Probably would avoid this matchup, though. Just like you don't know which way it's going to go. A little bit hard to predict. And there is some other softer matchups that look nice. Geelong against Richmond's not kind of no one relevant there. Sydney against St Kilda. Like I think Mills will be a good or like a viable vice captain option this. And then North Adelaide, like I think you just have to captain in Laird. I guess the only thing is like both the Bulldogs, Hawks, and North Adelaide is that those are teams coming off the buys in terms of Hawks and North. So even though they've been plus matchups so far, they've had an extra week to prepare. They've had a week off to refresh. Does that mean they put up a better effort and you get some reduction in performance? Don't know. GWS Collingwood, I mean, it's pretty hard to trust Josh Kelly as a captain opportunity. If this was earlier, maybe vice captaincy. Maybe you'd even look at Cogs as a vice captaincy. But otherwise, probably not a lot going on there. You could even could have looked at Crisp as a vice captain option this week against them, just because we saw what, how well the Dogs mid scored against them. And then Port Gold Coast in the last round. So I think Took I probably wouldn't like as a captain option this week just because of the inconsistency in scoring. And then Wits is pretty hard to back in after a 68, but Port without a ruck would have been interesting for a Wits vice captaincy maybe. But yeah, I think I'm going to keep it simple and go McRae into Laird this week. Emergencies, let's just make sure they're all set up kind of properly. Hamilton's probably not playing, so it probably needs to be Clark. And then Stevens. Actually the other one that people had this week was Bruce. If you still had Bruce, whatever, you can get rid of him. I think he was suspended as well as getting injured. So yeah, that experiment's done. Move him on. The only other one talking about is Whitfield. So he looked like he could be back. Well, I don't know what he scored at 101. He's had his first two 100s in back-to-back weeks. These are his first two games under a new coach. One of them was North, but the other one was Dogs. This is pretty positive. I think the downside of this pick is that Whitfield mentioned that he's managing his ankle, so it's not perfect. There's still something going on with it, but he's still scored all right. Most players carry something. Collingwood, Hawks, Port the next three games. Those are all very nice matchups for GWS. So given how they've looked since the Leon's gone, who would have thought Leon's a bad coach? Who predicted that? I don't know. Maybe me 2.5 years ago. GWS board, you want to hit me up for some other advice? No worries, I gotcha. But yeah, I think he's a real option, and he's still cheap. So if you do need a cheaper option in defense for whatever reason, like maybe you're in a situation where you need to do like a defensive upgrade and a forward upgrade, and you've got to trade Butters to Whitfield, and then paying up for Bont in the forward line would be really nice. I think that's like a very viable option this week. Otherwise, yeah, I think that's it. So make sure your team's fully upgraded. Bank some trades for injuries, because I think we're definitely getting them backloaded this year is what it feels like. And then make sure you tune in to the Fantasy Take TV podcast on George's channel this week, where we're going to go through the top of each line. I better hope we are now, because if we aren't, I've sold it ahead of time. That's what we tentatively talked about that last week. That was what the plan was. But yeah, if you do need help with like what your final upgrade should be, or your luxury targets, or maybe you play for league and you just care about the best, then tune in for that, because that's where we'll go through our predictions for the back end of this year. Otherwise, yeah, thanks for viewing. Let me know where you're at. If how you went through the buys, the cumulative, did you rank up, rank down? Is always quite interesting to see. Otherwise, I'll see you in the next one. Peace.